Well, greetings, everyone. Hi, my name's Constance Harris, and welcome to Roost News. This is the place for all things volunteer. I am a team member of Roost News, and I am so excited today to welcome Karen Morgan. She is a volunteer with AARP Maryland, like I am. And today we're going to talk about disrupting aging. And we're pretty confident that all of you listening to this have heard those two words together before, disrupting aging. A lot of information available almost all over AARP broadcast and news information. But today we're just going to talk specifically about a few things because we're also both members of the Maryland Speakers Bureau. So, Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to be here, Constance. I'm just really pleased and just hope I can, say something that'll be useful. I'm just really happy to be here.
I'm so glad you were able to join us. Uh, I confess, when we decided we wanted to interview somebody on this topic, Lillian and I were getting just a little bit nervous, like, okay, who are we going to find? So I'm delighted that Phyllis, who is the director of the Maryland Speakers Bureau, suggested you.
Oh,
So I know that you are a member of the executive board for the state of Maryland. Please just share a few of your duties with that.
well, interesting. We are in the process of determining how we want to approach team building and engagement with volunteers as members of the Executive Council right now. We have a new state council president. So we're sort of in the phase where we're kind of evaluating all the roles and what's the best way to move forward. But generally, as a member of the Executive Council, I think of myself as an ambassador for AARP Maryland. So when it comes to showing up, when it comes to volunteering to do things, I feel like members of the Executive Council set the example by saying yes, by going to things that aren't necessarily within their area of expertise. Like, for example, my area, my preferred area where I like to operate is in the fraud consumer protection space. But as an executive council member, you're called on to show up for a number of things, to staff a table. So I've done that at a Movies for Grownups event, or I help out with the Walktober Maryland events that happen. I've gone to concerts in Maryland as a representative of AARP, again, to staff tables, as well as doing speaking. And I don't just speak on fraud, I speak on brain and body health, I speak on livability, I speak on Social Security, Medicare, you know, whatever, almost whatever is available to speak on, I'll speak on, I'll learn about it and be able to speak on it. But to me, that's what executive council members do. They show up and they do the things that are asked.
I like that. And actually, I especially like that you use the term ambassador. And the fact of the matter is, I think all of us as AARP volunteers might, really embrace that mindset that we are all ambassadors for the benefits of being an AARP member.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely appreciate that. You mentioned that one of the things that you like to speak about is fraud, and then you also mentioned livability. Now, when you said livability, my mind immediately jumped to livability slash or equal or whatever, disrupting aging. So, can I ask you to, like young people say, kind of maybe unpack that livability presentation that you do and how it might relate to disrupting aging?
Well, the livability presentation really focuses on a number of things: safe streets, the environment within which we live. People like to talk about aging in place, but aging in place is not just about your home environment. It's not just about whether you're going up and down the stairs or how high the bathtub is. It's also Are there sidewalks so that you can walk somewhere? Are there bike paths if you want to walk? Are there places to even engage in physical activity? Are there community spaces so that you can meet other kinds of people of all ages? That's what livability means. And just sort of this concept of intergenerational, like we're all together, we all are sort of, we're all aging together, and we all need help. Young people need help from older people need help from younger people. So if we're all together and looking at the same sorts of challenges, maybe from different perspectives, then we can all learn from each other. But livability is just, it's sort of about the quality of your life, not just inside of your home, but outside of your home. Are there cultural things that you can go to? Can you get to a museum? Can you get to a concert? Can you get to a lecture or something if you want to? Is there public transportation available to do that if you don't
Mm,
have a car?
mm.
Because you shouldn't have to have a car to have a good quality of life. Things like
I
that.
absolutely, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I, I see how that fits in very nicely because I think we do make assumptions. You talked about most people verbalize, aging in place, but that means more than just your immediate housing environment. So
Hmm.
I get it. I get it. Wow. Okay. Um, one of the other things that I had wanted to ask you is you shared a little bit about that when you talked about the other areas that you volunteered with AARP. Have you done any other volunteering outside of AARP?
You mean there are other groups outside of AARP? Yikes. I had no idea, Constance. No, 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 AARP's keeping me pretty busy. I have not had a chance to volunteer with other groups. And that's what I love about volunteering with the AARP, because this organization just to me is the gold standard when it comes to volunteering. I think ARP takes really good care of its volunteers, and we get into all kinds of areas, financial security, but also, physical activity, but, let's have fun and cooking, and, let's do line dancing, all
Mm.
kinds of things, yoga. um, so because of that, it's like, yeah, I'm staying pretty busy just volunteering with AARP Maryland.
I get it. I get it. But I couldn't resist asking you that question. But it does also occur to me that as a member of the Executive Council, while most of your volunteering has been specifically with AARP, are you aware of other organizations that might collaborate with AARP to do stuff? Um,
Yes, and we do that. Like for example, with Protect Week, we have a Protect Week campaign in AARP Maryland, which is actually coming up in June, where we focus on elder financial exploitation. We partner with a number of other nonprofit groups like Cash Campaign, for example. We partner with government organizations like the Comptroller's Office and the Office of Attorney General to bring that campaign forward for Maryland citizens every June. We've been doing it for about 8 years now. So we do that. Um, we're partnering with a foundation that also focuses on fraud and just quality of financial life. We're looking for opportunities to partner with that organization, and they're holding a summit. It's the Juanita C. Grant Foundation. They're holding like a big summit in May, and AARP Maryland will have a presence there, and that presence will be me. So, so yes, so we will do that. And the other thing I will mention too is that we will cross collaborate with other AARP offices. Like, for example, later on this month, in fact, this next weekend, I will be headed out to AARP Northern Virginia to do a presentation for their Life After 50 event. So, and they want a presentation again on fraud, which is kind of my beat. So I'm going out there to do that presentation. That's in Vienna, Virginia.
Huh, okay. Thank you. I did not know any of that. And that is very helpful to know. I'm intrigued about the, you said Walk October thing.
Walktober, yes.
That
Yes.
intrigues me. Okay, well, I know we're going to stay in touch, and that's something that I would like to participate in.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. And it doesn't
yeah.
even cost anything. But yeah, walking is the Maryland, the one of the official Maryland sports. It's like jousting and walking is another sport. Exercise, that's like the state exercise for Maryland. And our state president, David Conway, has his beat was walking. Like my beat was fraud, his beat was walking. So he coordinates, he collaborates with the Maryland Department of Transportation to set up walking events. And the first Wednesday of October, we have a Walk Maryland Day. So people all over the state will get together in groups, large or small, or maybe even by yourself, you can do it. And just, walk to observe, this state exercise. And the members of the AARP Maryland State Office will get together, members of the Executive Council and the staff. We got together last year and walked around Fort McHenry, and this year we'll find another place to walk around, and anybody can join in with us. And we will also find other groups, like for example, AARP. There's a local chapter, Chapter 939 out of Suitland. They get together and do walking events as well. So,
Where have I been? I honestly was clueless. Why? Whew, thank you. And we all know, all of us have read sufficient articles. Well, I shouldn't say sufficient because repetition is important, but we've all read articles in our various AARP publications that talk about the importance of the simplicity of walking as an exercise to disrupt aging.
yes.
So thank you, because I honestly did not know about all of those opportunities to walk with other people.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I think I only have just a couple of more questions that I want to make sure I don't omit. Um, any thoughts for your, well, I know I can be even more specific instead of general. Earlier, you talked about how younger people need older people need younger people in this whole mix of helping us disrupt aging. Are there any examples that you want to share on how that might work? Specifically with anything that you've gleaned from the Disrupt Aging module that we've used for the Speakers Bureau?
Well, I guess I would approach how to answer your question this way, Constance. To me, when we talk about disrupting aging, the benefit of that is for everyone, not just older people, but younger people too. Here's one thing that I might be known for saying and that I say often. No one gets out of this world younger than when they came in.
Girl,
Literally, really, I defy you to
I'm gonna
find that.
steal that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
steal that.
I defy you to find somebody who actually has done that. No, everybody, the only way to live is to get older. So the idea that somehow getting older is a problem really has to be dispensed with. And when we dispense with that, everyone is hopeful about the future, about what the future has to offer. Younger people don't have to think about, well, gee, as I get older, oh, my life's going to ebb and oh, there won't be anything to look forward to. No, getting older is the point. If you stop getting older, you've got bigger problems. Trust me on that. So you really do want to get older, and getting older is a blessing. So we need to let younger people know that getting older is not a problem, it's a blessing. And older people need to understand that getting older is not a problem, it's a blessing. And every day is a new opportunity. So that's what I like about Disrupt Aging. We're we're looking for ways to learn more about the world in which we live in. Getting older helps us to do that. And I mean, I'm in my late 60s now, and I feel like I know way less now than I knew when I was 20. I'm like 68. I know way less now than when I was 28. The world's a much less certain place for me, but it's also just a really interesting place. And the fact that you don't know everything gives you a reason to get up in the morning because there are other
Amen.
things to learn. About your immediate world and about the world around you. So it's so important to just get rid of these really destructive stereotypes. I mean, look at our founder, Ethel Andress Percy, who, she was engaging with presidents in her late 60s. I mean, she did more in 5 minutes than I could probably do in 5 years, but that's another story. But she was completely and utterly engaged. She wasn't thinking about what she can't do. She was only thinking about what she could do. And for me, AARP gives all of us a chance to think about what more can we do. There are always ways to serve. There are always ways to be engaged. I don't understand people who complain about being bored. It's like, then you're not doing it right. You're not looking closely enough at what's around you. And if you want to be an interesting person, you kind of need to be interested. So don't waste time being bored. At,
I am so enjoying your answers, Karen, and right on target. You're absolutely correct. I recently read a statistic or a fact, I shouldn't say a statistic. I never knew this, but someone wrote that most of Ben Franklin's accomplishments were in the last third of his life. you know, so many of the things that we attribute as successful to him about our country, a whole bunch of different things really happened in the latter part of his life. And I suspect that that's true for more Americans, who may not be as famous as Ben Franklin, but I suspect it's true for a lot more of us.
Mhm.
So indeed, you really make a good point there, definitely. And back to the young people, with young people paying attention to how we can age and still be of service, should give them a whole different mindset about approaching aging. So,
Yeah, because then becoming older is something to look forward to, not
mm-hmm,
something to dread. And
mm-hmm,
our culture, our American youth-oriented culture is just plain wrong about that. It was never right about that. And, when you look at some of, like you mentioned, Ben Franklin, our founder would be another great example. I mean, look at presidents. I mean, people who run corporations, there not that many of them are like 15. They're more like, post 50, and they're just like hitting their stride, in their 60s and 70s. I mean, come on, look at Warren Buffett. He's in his 90s and
yeah,
he's giving stock tips because he knows what he's talking about. No one's
yeah.
telling him he's too old to give stock tips.
No, you're right. And people pay attention to him. They flock to him because they know he knows for
Yep.
sure. Yeah. Well, as we kind of wind down here, I do one final question that I always like to ask, and that is simply, is there something that you want to share that I didn't think to pose a question to you on?
Well, let's see. What do I want to share? I guess I want to share, if I don't know if it hasn't come across, I do want to share how much I enjoy volunteering with AARP Maryland. The staff is phenomenal. Working with the Speakers Bureau's been terrific. I love doing that. But I also have just loved the opportunity to learn so many different things, and particularly with regard to community outreach, which was not something I'd ever been involved in before I started volunteering with AARP. My occupation before volunteering was as an attorney. It was a relatively solitary type of occupation. So not that many opportunities to just engage with people and kind of just have fun and talk about things that matter. And volunteering with AARP, I talk about things that matter, not just for people who are older, but for all of us. If you're starting a family, you need to think about how you're going to secure your finances so that if unfortunately you're not there, your family is not bereft. Um, you have to think about that, and as continue on into your 30s and 40s, that financial security is important. Your ability to manage your career without the scourge of age discrimination is extremely important. Your ability to advance without those ridiculous, completely nonsensical barriers that have nothing to do with reality. AARP gives us a platform to talk about that, and I think this year, 2024, that this is the year to really embrace that and to really say, we're about becoming. We're not about what happened, we're about becoming. The best really is yet to come.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And that's a perfect note to end on. Wow, we are about becoming. Thank you so much, Karen. This has been just highly educational for me. I learned way more than I ever could have expected to, and I'm very delighted. And so, let me say to those of you who will be listening to this podcast or watching it later on, we really encourage you to check us out on your favorite podcast format, whatever that might be, and share this information with other folks on your volunteer teams. We think that what we do really, as Karen just said, helps all volunteers. It just brings us a whole different way of thinking about aging and what services we can continue to provide as we all get better and better. Thank you again, Karen, and goodbye to all our fellow volunteers.